We are recording.
Thank you. All right, we'll now call the meeting back to order. We are about to hear council member discussion, item number 21. Councilmember Bernard, Duke Energy Lighting, along Main Street.
Thank you, Mayor. At our last special meeting we had talking about the Christmas lights, I brought up the fact that I did some research a couple years ago about upgrading the lights in the city of Avon Park, and at the time the administration was not agreeable to that, but when I mentioned it at the last meeting, David thought it was a great idea, so I contacted the engineer that I happen to know, who then referred me to what they call a lighting specialist, and I told him what I was looking to do and exactly what would be the process to upgrade the lights in the city of Avon Park to go from the regular, what they call sodium type lights, which are like the yellow lights, to LED lights, which are very cost effective. And so he said, where would you like to start? And I said, let's just pick from Main Street from US 27 to Memorial. Just pick that strip. And his records show that we had 49 existing lights on Main Street that's by Duke Energy. And so I asked him to print up a report about what it would cost to change those existing lights to the brand new modern update green energy saving lights. And for the total 49, it would cost us $7.62. There's no charge to actually change them out physically. That Duke Energy is happy to do this because of the fact that it saves them money in the long run, which also helps save the plant, and the less energy that they put out, hopefully they'll lower the cost someday. And he suggested that we actually go ahead and move forward and probably just go ahead and do the whole city of Avon Park. And by looking at these numbers here, he told me we had approximately 600 city lights in the city of Avon Park. That was what their records show. And so for that amount, it would cost us less than $100 to change them out for the whole city of Avon Park. And he suggested if we do that we do that in large numbers because it takes 3 or 4 months for the process. And if we vote this in today, the process, all we have to do is just initial the email that we agreed to it. Then they'll come out and they'll actually do a great count of exactly how many lights we have on Main Street. And then they'll give an exact cost proposal on to change it, and that'll start the process, which would take anywhere from 2 to 4 months. And I figure that if we could change every city light in Avon Park for less than $100, why not upgrade us and be a city that's looking towards the future and being what we call a green city? And we could do this, we could figure out maybe divide the city up in thirds or quarters and do 100, 150, 200 at a time. And then we would just have them do a proposal, sign off for it. And so hopefully within maybe a year's time, we could have every city light changed out to an LED. Now, if you want to know what they look like, there is a couple up on the corner of Main Street and 27 where they've already put a couple new poles up there. And they're basically a flatter light where the LEDs shoot down, so they're not like a big glow. But the fact, because there's cost, their energy, they use less than half the energy that the existing lights do now. And I think it's also a much cleaner and whiter element, which I think also will brighten up Main Street to begin with. And then why not do the whole city? I mean, just for security reasons, the brighter lights we have, the better it is. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody might not like them, because I know some people didn't like some of the lights on Lake Avenue blinding into their house, but
well, this is different than that.
yeah, it's different. It's up at a higher rate. I believe all the poles on Main Street are acceptable. They can either be concrete or the wooden type. So basically, all our poles would probably qualify, or they would be willing to change them out at no cost. So, with that be said,
That's a monthly cost.
Yeah.
That's not
That's a
just a
monthly
one
cost.
time. It's
Right.
Right now it's $7.60-something
Yeah.
per month extra it would cost
Yeah.
us. I think it's a fantastic bargain. The lights are not. It's not a harsh, bright light.
Right.
It's a cooler type light. I think it'd be a very
Almost almost all modern industrial warehouses now use
Yep.
LED
Yeah.
type light. That's,
Yep.
we made the conversion at our facility a while back.
Would they do the same thing for individuals that get the lights? You know how sometimes people want one in their yard and they'll get a pole that's,
Yeah.
If they're gonna
That they
pay for
pay
the pole,
themselves?
yes, they'll charge you for that, yes.
yeah, but I mean, would they change those out or would it be up to that resident who requested? Because some of them are,
Since you're paying a monthly
Yeah.
fee to
Yeah.
Duke Energy for that, that would be up
Yeah.
to y'all to contact them.
They'd be happy to
Okay.
do it for you.
Right.
Now, if
Yeah.
you wanted to, get a brand new pole and new light, like I have one in my backyard, because the previous owner worked for FP&L, he put one back there which lights up the entire neighborhood, so I never turn it on, because it's probably cost about $25 a minute. But I could change that one out if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. But yeah, if you want a pole in your property, or you have one you want to change the light out, I can give you a contact who to call. And there's different contacts for numbers of poles that you do. One is on over 20 and one is under 20. But as far as adding one in the city, like if you had a corner light that you wanted one, you'd have to come and get permission from the city, because obviously the city then would absorb the cost of placing a new pole and a new light, as well as the monthly fee. So not everybody can have a light on every corner of every street, and that doesn't mean you couldn't ask for it. But I'm just looking right now just to upgrade Main Street, which I think on the mall area, we could have this done before the Christmas parade. And I know in the past where I've sat out there, and some of the areas were so dark and they don't have lights on all the vehicles, you could hardly see them coming down to the people who were right in front of you. And if you were in a dark spot, especially all the girls dancing out there, because we got a lot of dance studios in this area, you could hardly even see them. So I think this would be a great benefit. The cost is minimal, and it doesn't cost anything to get it started. So I'm all for it. If everybody else is, I'll make the motion if necessary.
Yeah. Well, the Main Street is obviously one of the main business corridors, so it would be a good test bed
Yes.
to go ahead and have it done.
Right. And then-
If anywhere we need it, Main Street is a place that it needs to be done
Yeah.
for the parade and things like that. So
Yeah, like I said, it's something where people would have a chance to look at it, and if there were some
right.
neighborhoods that didn't want it at all, I guess we could exclude them.
Right.
That'd be our decision with.
Having Main Street done would provide everyone the
Yeah.
opportunity to see what
And
they look
everybody'd
like.
say yay or nay,
Right.
because I don't think that people would say no, but you never know, but at least they'd have an option to take a look at it,
Yeah.
so.
I make the motion that we start out with doing Main Street with the new lights.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll absolutely second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember Gray,
yes?
Councilmember Spurlock,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutherland,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes,
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And obviously, with that, we'll request that they go ahead and give us a proposal
Yep.
for the rest of the
all we
city.
need to do, David, is either you or I just return the email, just put initials on there. You can do it if you like.
On the one that you sent me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just forward it to the gentleman that's on there. If you have any questions, call me. And once he gets the initials, he'll get a written proposal to bring back to us to vote on it to get started.
Okay.
Okay. All right, moving on. Item number 22, Councilmember Sutherland, MLK portables. I'm assuming you're talking about the portables at the sports complex. eh?
Yes, and I had spoken to David about this, and he told me that it was in process. The day that I asked you to put it on the agenda, you said that they were already,
It's
someone was out there working on something.
It's actually scheduled to be taken out of there Wednesday,
Okay,
this
Okay.
Wednesday.
All right, moving on to
There were some concerns out there.
okay, but it's moving forward.
It is
Yeah,
absolutely
that
moving forward.
is, believe it or not, on my street, the biggest thing that people come knocking on my door on.
They'll be happy Wednesday,
Okay,
hopefully. It's up to a contractor, but hopefully.
okay.
now for the
Number 2?
attorney hiring process.
Have we?
That's yours, Maria.
It's you as well.
Well, I see that it was revised, and it was no longer on the revised. Is that on page 2?
Right there.
Number 23.
Oh, you put it on the same line, never mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know that we had spoken about this issue and that Councilman Bernard and Councilman Spurlock had made a motion and seconded, and then we went through the motion of hiring our interim city attorney as a full-time city attorney. And we've been sitting up here time and time again about procurement policies, and we need to stick to our rules and all, but, and that's exactly why I voted the way I voted that night in saying no to hiring him that night full-time. And since then, I thought to myself, okay, if we're gonna go through the procurement process on this, I already know what my answer is going to be. It's going to be hiring Mr. Buer as our permanent city attorney. So I just wanted to avoid the dog and pony for which sometimes we are famous. And, if we already know where we're going, why do we need to go through this? I really don't like and it's up to the other two that are up here, and I don't know if Stanley and Jim have changed their mind or not, but I'm assuming you haven't. But if we go ahead through the procurement process, we're going to have attorneys from all over the place submit an RFQ, and then we're going to have interviews, knowing all along what the answer is going to be, and to me, it's a waste of time. I think it's an insult to those individuals that are going to put all their paperwork together, and I think that in our own in our procurement policy, there's wiggle room for us to go ahead and do this right now.
You can waive your policy. You can waive the policy.
Right. So I'd like to make a motion that we waive the procurement policy and hire Jerry Buer as our full-time city attorney.
And I second that.
Okay. Does that specify with hiring rate and
Well, he
benefits and
has
all that?
pending a negotiated contract with him, but I want him to know that that's the way that we're leaning. We don't have anything from him just yet, but obviously it would be mutually agreed upon.
Got
But
it.
to go that route so that we can start negotiating a contract.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other questions?
Yeah, I'd like to make something. Now, when I've been on this council for quite some time, and this is what we was accused of the last time we just hired somebody. And now we're going back and doing the same thing that we was accused of doing before, of not allowing the people the opportunity to, and I know you guys outvote me, I don't have a problem with that, but I think fairness should be fair to everybody. This is just my opinion. I just think that we should be fair. We was accused of just hiring somebody that was on staff or already employed by the city or working for the city already without giving other people the opportunity to come in and see what's going on. Nothing against you, Jerry, but I'm just saying this is what this council has been accused of, and I've been up here for quite some time, and I got offended when I was told that this is what I'm doing, but you all are doing the same thing now.
Yeah. So basically, I agree with Brenda in the fact that it needs to be the fairest possible. In my opinion, it is the fairest thing possible to have the dog and pony show that you say and give everyone the opportunity to come forward, just to reassure everyone that we are picking the best candidate out of the people who apply. Now, if there's a big disparity and you have some people who come in and are way overqualified, and you pick the least qualified, which is actually what we did with our past city attorney, that's a problem also, and that's not something that we should be doing also. But the fairest thing is to have a actual lengthy hiring process and to select the best candidate out of that bunch that comes to us. So I would like to see a long hiring process and make it as formal as possible. But hey, there's 5 people sitting up here.
That's right.
Have we already done an RFP for this?
No. What we were instructed to do the last time was to get with Brian Koji and see what language he wanted to put in that, and we started that process when I got the message from Councilman Sutherland that she wanted this. I didn't say councilman, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Councilmember
I understood
Sutherland.
what you meant.
So that's where we are right now.
Where I think this is different than in the past is being up front. This is not underhanded, this is up front. My vote will be for Jerry. And that's just the way it is. I'm being up front just like Ms. Sutherland was. And
But she was wrong when she said that, though. We did not, when we hired the past administration, we went through the interviewing process. We did the whole thing. Except for when we went through the city manager, she was already employed, and that last city manager. And then we offered her the position. We was accused of not going through the interview process.
Are you talking about with the last city manager that we
Yes,
had?
that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
But, those only, because only the city manager and the attorney works for us, we're the only one can, that's the
Right.
only people we hire.
Yeah, but when you know the outcome is going to be 3 or to 5, it's, why bother doing that? You know, you say that a lot of people complained. Well, a lot of people complained when we went through the dog and pony as well, because it was an insult to those individuals that came here and really put out their best effort for an interview process, and it was already known who the city attorney was going to be before
Wait a
that
minute.
person. Oh, yes, yes.
No,
but
you're
I'm
talking about the attorney, I'm
Right.
talking
Well,
about
but
the
either
city
way,
manager.
either
Same
way,
thing.
if you know what the
Well,
outcome.
listen,
No,
we don't have to rehash.
No,
the
no, no,
past.
but what I'm saying is, if we know what the outcome is going to be, then why are we going to do this all over again?
Because it's fair, that's what you
But
do.
again, you know, you're gonna bring people in here, they're gonna give their 5-minute scenario, we're gonna have these, you know, mock questions, and the answers are gonna be what they're going to be, and in the end, we already know what the outcome is going to be. So the procurement policy does allow us wiggle room to
you're
go
right.
ahead and to bypass the procurement policy. I'm not breaking a rule. We're not breaking any rules here. We're going by our procurement policy. We can bypass it anytime we choose, and that's what I'm exercising tonight.
I'm not saying you're wrong in doing that, Maria.
Well, but that's-
not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that what you all had said before, that it wasn't fair, and I'm just saying now you're going back on your own word.
No,
You know, that's
well-
all I'm saying. I mean, I don't
I
have
ain't
a
said
problem
that.
with that.
Well,
I don't know
I
who you're
haven't
talking
said
about
that.
who said it wasn't fair.
I think everyone up here is striving to pick the very best candidate.
Yes.
So that's what everybody wants, and that's what
most
we're going to try to
qualified.
do. Exactly. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any further questions on that motion? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember Gray.
No,
Councilmember Spurlock.
Yes.
Councilmember Sutherland.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Yes,
Mayor Anderson.
No.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 24, Councilmember Spurlock, Highlands County Sheriff's Office.
Okay. I want to make it clear that this is not about what the sheriff's office has done, has not done, will do, or will not do. This is strictly about numbers. And I'm asking David and our financial officer to carve out what we're paying, not just to the sheriff for our special agreement that we have for law enforcement, but also what is being paid by the citizens of Avon Park in a form of county taxes that go to support the sheriff's department. I'd like to see those two put together and see, you know, what it is actually costing the citizens of this town.
You want me to get something from the county's budget information to find out
Absolutely.
how much goes toward the sheriff's office for Avon Park?
Correct.
Now, I know that they do pie chart type budgets, but I don't know that they actually specify that, but we can probably break it down by citizen or,
I think, you know what, I have requested this information as well, so I know exactly what you're asking. Yeah, they have a pie chart, but to create a pie chart, you need the data. So what they receive is the millage that we pay towards the general fund of, to the county. And then we also have our utility fees and all that we pay ourselves into our general fund with whatever taxes we collect, the 30-cent mill. So what the county would have to do is carve out the municipality of Avon Park's contribution of taxes to the county, and of that, carve out what is public safety on the county level, and carve the sheriff fees out of that. So, I mean, they should be able to compute that quite easily.
Mr. Helms is already working on that.
Yeah.
We had had a discussion in the last couple of weeks with him, so he is already working on that, but I don't know how much time he's put into it, but he'll be in tomorrow, I can find out.
Yeah, because I think that would be a true number of what we actually pay for law enforcement, you know, aside from our fees. And I don't know what percentage of our fees goes entirely towards the sheriff. Is there anything left in that general fund revenue that doesn't go towards the sheriff? Or is it all going to the sheriff? You know, and our millage.
From
when
the county.
From county and city. I mean, that's separate. I'm trying to figure out, of what we pay into our utility tax, telecommunication tax, all of those revenue sources, what percentage of that goes towards our current contract with the sheriff?
Is that the same thing he's asking for?
Yeah, but he wants the county.
Oh, okay.
I want the city. I want them both. I think
Right.
it would give you a true picture of exactly what is
Yeah.
paid towards that.
We can't do anything about county tax. though.
No, we can't.
We're not.
We can't, but I want to know what that number is, because that is in addition to what we currently pay. Because
Right.
even though we have a contract, there is law enforcement money set aside
Yeah,
for
I-
them from the county.
I understand. I'm just playing the advocate of no matter what you do with that contract, you still have to pay that same.
Agreed, but there's no harm in finding out what that number is.
Yeah.
It would be nice to know exactly how our county tax that we contribute is paid. That pie chart defines that, but it doesn't really define, I don't know if the sheriff has a whole section of that pie just for sheriff, or if it was public safety. I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Well, if you wanted a rough number, couldn't you just simply take the sheriff budget, divide by population of Highlands County, and assign that number to the population that we have in Avon Park, and that would give you?
I don't know. I don't know if that's how they compute it, because not everybody pays millage, because there's homestead exemption.
No, I see.
And we don't know
I
how
get
many
it.
of those households are homesteaded.
I get it.
And you've got a lot of houses that don't pay anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So it may not be a big number.
Right.
Okay. Anything else on that?
All right. Am I pretty clear on that? Then
You're
what-
right. You're
Okay.
right.
All right.
Okay.
So when you get that, you're going to give it to all of us,
Yes.
David?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Seeing none, moving on to item number 25, regular update from the city manager.
We had a discussion about restructuring the CRA loan or future plans, and I still don't have a clear direction on which way y'all want to go on that for the Brickell building. It's been kicked back and forth. Are we going to restructure the loan with CRA? Are we going to forgive the interest rate? What is the pleasure of the council?
What I would like to see is that the portion of that loan that is not being used be withdrawn from the actual loan, because it's not going to be used. I think the loan was in excess of $800,000 or $900,000, but yet only about $400 to $450 was actually consumed out of that loan. So we're paying on a loan that we're not even using the balance of those funds. Or the CRAs for that matter.
Right.
So, why not restructure the loan to where it's only for the actual expenditures that have been incurred? And if the CRA ends up spending more money, well, then let them go out and get the loan. But I don't see why the CRA should be paying on a loan that it's not using. We didn't refinance a house here to where you can use the money to add on a building. This was strictly for, expenses around Main Street and stuff, but they don't need a loan for that. They have money in their pocket, and it hasn't been spent in nearly 2 years. So they keep rolling money over. Why are we paying interest on something that we don't need to be paying interest on if it's not money that we've actually used?
Okay, the repairs that we were doing as far as the mold testing and all that, where's that at? How far is that along?
We have, since it smells better in there, I've actually ordered a second indoor air quality report before I start bringing in heavy equipment in there to do the negative air balance stuff, because that's very costly.
Yeah.
So I'm doing another indoor air quality study on it just to see what the levels have changed since the last month that we've done it.
So another several weeks then,
A few more weeks.
a few more weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Does anyone else have anything to say about the loan?
I will work
Restructure.
on that and bring you something in the very near future for this. And then I'm going to need a decision sometime as to what the city actually wants to do with that building, whether or not we're going to sell it or what. A lot of that's going to have to do with what we're going to need to spend with the mold remediation. I need to tell you, I had a cold call in my office where 2 investors showed up and said they were interested in the building. So
To
they-
buy it,
To buy it.
let's sell it.
They have looked at it. They were excited about the possibility of needing extra housing here with the Nucor project and stuff. Those guys have left already, but they were very excited about the potential here.
Yeah.
They are from the Lauderdale area. They have been working in this area for the last 15 years, flipping foreclosed properties. So
Right.
they have a presence already here.
We have a huge moderate to high-end apartment complex disparity in Highlands County. It's
Yes, we do.
well documented. Talk to any of the hospitals, any of the large businesses, they'll tell you it's hard to get people in here
Maybe
that are
y'all can
younger
give
and
me some
starting out.
background on this. I have only found in the records one proposal for upstairs apartments there, and that was 6 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartments.
That was it.
Was that it?
That
thought
was
they
it,
were.
far as I know.
Was that because of the density? We couldn't get more density in that?
It was because it was the exclusivity. Whoever had proposed that wanted some type of exclusive housing type of environment
So that
there.
was their plan?
Yeah, it had nothing to do with anything other than, let's make this as high-end as possible.
Right.
That's right.
Okay.
And they wanted to have as much space as possible, and each one was gonna get its own piece downstairs.
Right. Yeah. I mean, my vision for the building would be to make it sellable. So if there's something hazardous in there that we need to get out, let's get it out.
Correct.
Make it sellable, and then have Central Florida Regional Planning or whomever our planning and zoning person is go ahead and work up a document that tells all of the things that are possible with that building, and have it as part of a marketing package. So when people do ask you, you can say,
Mhm.
hey, here you go. Here's what you can do with that building.
That's actually inside of the CR and the chamber's proposal to do something like that we're gonna be paying the chamber to do. So maybe they can work with Central Florida when they do that, but that's
Yeah.
part of their proposal that we are working a contract on. I was gonna also make the comment, I think in the minutes, and I'm not sure if it was these or not, I remember reading them somewhere, that we were gonna try to figure out the number of parking spaces for the upstairs, and I think it's 1.3 for employees and whatnot, but we own the parking lot, and we have the option to sell all those parking spaces to that building or not. So, I mean, I'd like to keep some of those for the businesses that are down there, and I don't want it locked up, in other words, because a lot of people use those back doors to get to those businesses.
Right.
So, if we do apartments upstairs, then it would be contingent also on the number of parking spaces for each one of them.
Yes.
I would
I
like to
agree.
see it sold.
Yeah.
Because I was approached by a firm in Orlando about the Bricker building, what we was gonna do with it. Is it up for sale?
Yeah.
Good. Send them to me.
There's
We'll
never
talk.
been a better time in the past
Yep.
decade to sell the building than now.
Yep.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, as I've told you before, everything that's in red is the updates on this spreadsheet. The church service center, moving them to the Yana property, that is on hold, pending action from Yana.
Yep.
In our lease that we have with them, we own the property. We do not own the buildings. The buildings are theirs. And in the lease, it says that they can move the buildings when the lease expires.
Come and get them.
Well, that's where we're at right now. We're kind of waiting and seeing what they're doing with this.
How long was that lease, how long was our contract with them for?
If you go back to the beginning, it was 1950, and then it was renewed again in 1984, and then again there was a 2-year addition put on into it in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So almost a long time.
Yeah, since 1950. Yeah,
So if they move them, it's at their expense?
it's their.
So is there a deadline provided to them? Because we like to move along.
We've not provided any deadlines on that. I have conversations with Conley on this. He said he was going to have to run some stuff by an attorney and see what they needed to actually do with some of this. So I'm giving him a few weeks and I'll get back to him.
I'm presuming they're gonna want to sell them rather than move them?
We have no obligation.
No,
to
I
buy
know
those
that. I
buildings.
know we have no obligation, I just, if that's what their request is going to be, I see that coming before this. I mean, that would be what I would think they would want to do.
I wouldn't buy them.
I wouldn't
Okay,
either.
well,
Okay, moving on. City Hall generator, the job is scheduled with the Longs. They have ordered it. It should be taken care of this summer. CDBG grant, you just did that. This Thursday, the fire department is going to be doing some training exercises on Lake Verona with the boat that they have. And they're going to be resetting the buoys that have floated over to the north side. They're going to be bringing those over, resetting them, taking care of that this Thursday, weather permitting. Moving along, phase 1 we just did tonight. We're obtaining pricing per the special meeting instructions on holiday lighting. We've gotten quite a bit of stuff already up on that. Banners, lights, LED lights and different things, the lights that shoot up from the bottom of the trees and stuff. I think we can do a lot of that relatively inexpensively. The banners are not inexpensive.
No.
They're a little costly. But if we go with the seasonal theme, as was discussed, we'll get a lot more life out of those banners than what they're guaranteeing. They're guaranteeing a 2-year lifespan in the weather. If we're rotating them out, we'll get a lot more out of them. If it's a seasonal thing or a monthly type thing, we'll get a lot more life out of them. So
David, let me ask you a question. As far as the south side, the lights, it, when, I think at the last meeting or whenever we discussed it before, it was said, I had brought out that there was no electrical things to plug in any type of lighting, and that you all said that would be a quick fix.
Yes.
How is that coming? Is that,
It's on the schedule to be done. I actually went
Okay.
down and I looked at it myself, and it can be done.
okay?
And it's on Robert's schedule.
It should, but it should be done by the Christmas time.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. That's something that can be done in a half a day. So, yeah, it'll be done.
All right.
Mall beautification and maintenance is continuous. The 23rd, all-employee appreciation luncheon, as I mentioned, we would certainly want the council members to try to make an appearance there. Come get a lunch, maybe a gift.
Now, did Jerry
A
got
goodie
anything
bag,
to
we call it
say?
that.
And where, that's at Donaldson Park from 11 to 2?
No, this is the community center.
Community center?
Yes, our community center on Main Street.
Air conditioning, okay.
Air conditioned, absolutely, and it's gonna be some
No one
fun.
would show up if it were at the park.
Yeah, it's gonna be fine, a fine barbecue. First planning and zoning meeting we've had in almost a year will be tomorrow night, right here. I think there's 4 items on the agenda for them to be discussed. Looking forward to having the planning and zoning meeting active again. Planning and zoning committee,
Okay. Is that at 6 o'clock?
5:30.
5:30.
Yes, sir. And that's all I have for my report.
I just had a
And-
couple of questions.
Go ahead.
In the
We
minutes,
do
it
have
reads.
one sign up.
Oh, okay. In the minutes, there was the Wild Building. You were going to get some extra estimates on that.
They haven't come in yet. We
Okay.
have solicited them.
All right. And then the other one was the community center generator could be serviced by portable generator. Is it going to be able to be serviced by a portable generator?
I asked him to look at that. I don't have an answer back yet.
Okay.
That
Who's
was
him?
something that Councilman Bernard
Ron.
was asking.
Yeah, that was
Long
your
you asked?
question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
As to
Maybe-
whether or not, it would require a transfer switch and then just plugging into
Well, do we
that.
have a spare transfer switch? Will we see if that would work?
How do we have a spare transfer
I
switch?
thought we bought one from the previous,
We sent it back and got a refund.
they gave us a refund?
Yeah,
Oh, I thought we already paid for it,
we did pay for it.
and they gave us our money.
Yeah.
Buy us a stocking. for-
You're welcome.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we couldn't have used that for that building anyway.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. We got any plans for the basketball thing on Main Street?
Nothing more since the last meeting.
Could you include with that, trying to get the lights working up on that parking lot also?
Yes,
Okay.
that's a continuous thing. Brooker Fence did tell us that he did not believe that he could get a freestanding 12-foot fence up there to work properly. He was concerned about that, about not having supports on it. I don't know why you can't. You dig a pole far enough down in the ground with concrete on it, it should support it. But I don't know if he was telling Robert it was just too expensive or what, but I told him to go ahead and get us a price anyway. But not to do it on that south side. I went and looked at that again. That's way too close to that house, so it would actually be on the railroad side.
And you would just have one fence on one side, and you wouldn't do the whole
Correct.
building.
That's all
Yeah.
we're talking about, is
Maybe,
just one
maybe it
fence.
wasn't big enough job for him.
Well, but it needs to be 12 foot tall, because the basketball's 10 foot.
Well,
You don't want it going over that.
Depends how often a train comes by.
Don't want to do that. All right, do y'all have any questions other than that?
No.
Okay, I think you got something
Yeah,
on
thank
that.
you.
Yep, we do have one sign up. We have Jane Avery, the Depot Museum mural.
Gene Jordan.
Jean Jordan. It says Jane Avery, but got it.
Jane and Gene, okay.
Well, y'all come. How about that?
Yeah.
Gene Jordan, 600 North Lake Verona Boulevard, Avon Park, Florida.
Jane Avery, 828 South Helen Avenue in Avon Park, Florida.
Jim Deal, Villa del Sol, Avon Park.
Okay.
Okay, we're here because, well, first of all, David said that this would be on the agenda on the 30th, but it will be too late the 30th because I understand they're going to start doing these paintings before then.
That
And,
that is not actually accurate.
Well, there's somewhere that's written that they are in the newspaper or someplace, so
The
that's where
county
I heard-
commission is approving this in June for them to get started on it, but
Okay.
It's not going to be before the 30th.
All right, well, we'll come back then.
No,
But-
you're here. Let's do it now.
Okay, here's the thing. They want to put it on the side of our museum. First of all, the museum is a historical building. It's clean, it's got its own lines, and we do not need a mural on it. You've got other places that would be very, very good for a mural. First of all, the Masons are agreeable for you to put it on their building, and you can see it from Main Street, from 27. It's a building that's wide open, big white building. You can go in the parking lot and walk across and take pictures, whatever, but it's one of the best, and they've had a meeting and they've agreed that they would like to have it there, as long as you put a Masonic emblem on it somewhere. So this is our argument. We do not want it. First of all, here's her picture of it. There's windows on each side. That's going to look like scribble stuff sitting on that little area in between those two windows. And they want to put it all the way to the ground. We have flowers in a garden there that we put in there. So we don't want to take those up. And you can't see it from Main Street. The trees are there. You have to be coming east. How many people driving east are going to look way over there at the museum to see that mural? I do not want it on the museum. None of us want it on there. No one has ever come and asked us. So I'm asking you not to do it. Don't vote for it. Don't allow it to happen to our museum.
Okay.
You can put one on the bathroom in Dollison Park. That's a big wide wall. It's your building. And you could put one on the City Hall. That's your building. I do not want it on the museum.
Okay.
We feel like, for the most part, it's defacing a very important structure here in Avon Park. That building has been there since 1926, when the Seaboard Railroad built it. There's a lot of history with that. The mural that we see, the one that is the proposed mural, way too busy, way too graffiti-like, way too many flowers, way too many. You have to stand there and look, well, at least at the proposal, to see what's in this mural. There's things, cut here and there, everywhere, that very confusing to people. We don't want it on here. Now, we're not all of this opinion. There are some that, agree to the mural, but our disdain with having this mural there is of utmost importance to those workers there. We have worked there. I've been a part of the museum for 12 years, and I think everybody knows Jean Jordan and her association with the museum. We do not want that proposed mural there. Put it wherever you want. We don't want it there.
We only have one member that's for the museum, for the mural.
She's right here. She needs to talk.
Oh, okay.
She needs.
We'll give our negatives first. I was here on Wednesday morning when the lady from the TDC was here, and we proposed all these different changes. It may look a little bit better to us when she comes back with the changes, but nonetheless, we tried to get it where they incorporated the windows into part of the design, make it like a trestle for the train going over. But no matter how you look at it, it's quite busy. It really detracts from the building, and not to mention we have 40 shirts for sale that look like this and not like the postcard that they had. And I want to read this. It's very quick. This is from a lady who's worked at the museum for 15 years, and she had to go back north. She's a snowbird. She says, since 1926, Avon Park Depot has been a landmark for Avon Park and surrounding communities, a recognized historical building, a beautiful, well-kept building, one that we have been so proud of. Its character and architectural design has been admired and envied by many. After looking at the photo of this mural on the building, I feel that we will be losing this historical building. The mural hides all the features that have made this building an outstanding museum since 1979 and a historical landmark since 1926. Putting this mural on the museum building will be a huge mistake. It will no longer be the building that we have come to love as a landmark and a museum. This mural not only hides the character of our building, it does nothing to complement the building in any way. It degrades our beautiful building. It looks like graffiti, or as someone else told me, urban art. Please don't do this. You can't improve perfection, and that is what we have in this building. And that's from Grace Hudson, who's been a volunteer for 15 years. After I left the meeting on Wednesday morning, I drove around town. I drove up Main Street, I drove back down Main Street, and I drove from the east heading west, and you cannot see that building at all until you get over the railroad track and then, go like that to look. The only way you're going to see it is if you cut all those trees down. And I'm telling you, if you cut those trees down, that's a shame. I mean, you can't see it at all coming from the west. Granted, coming from the west heading east, you can see it very clearly, and it would probably, I think it probably would draw people to our museum to get their picture taken in front of it. But I don't know, that's an awful high price, plus if they come on any day other than Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, nobody's going to be there. So they're not going to come in the museum anyway. And I'd hate like heck to see those trees cut down in front of it. It's just, those are some of our opinions, and then we have somebody that's in favor of it.
Roberta Flowers, 61 East Wolf Street, resident for 76 years, Avon Park. Yes, I am for the mural for several reasons. I saw the rendering. Some people didn't see it, but I saw it. It does need a few changes made, which we all volunteered our changes, and to Casey, is that her name? Mm-hmm. To the tourist development. And I think it would be a good thing for our building, for the whole city of Avon Park. We want to draw people downtown. We don't want, okay, the Masonic building. Yeah, it's a nice big building, but is someone flying on 27 going to see that mural and then say, oh yeah, let's go down there and look? No, that still doesn't get them downtown. When I was a girl growing up, we had 3 department stores, a jewelry store, a shoe store, an exclusive, a lot of activity. And where have we been all these years? We're a downward spiral. And there isn't anybody that loves history as much as I do. Not only local, but American history. And I have been involved with the Historical Society for several years myself. Of course, after tonight, I may be fired as secretary, but that's okay too. Please understand this also. The board itself has not voted on this, yay or nay. All these people here tonight are individuals with their own opinions, which I have my opinion too. I still think, and heaven forbid, please don't put it on the bathroom, but I do feel like it would be, and with the changes, I do believe that it is going to, and there were several changes and suggestions that she was going to take back to the artist. And I do believe it will be good, it will be pretty. No, we don't want the trees taken out. And if you're going out to 27, no, you can't see the museum. But if you're coming down the other way, the view is very clear to look over and see the mural and the building. We have a beautiful sign there. We want people to come to the museum, but we also want them to come to Avon Park. And that's the idea of the tourist thing, I believe, to get more people downtown for Avon Park, period.
Mrs. Flowers, do you recall what the dimensions were of the mural? I mean, it was, from what I understand, it was going to be the entire facade of the museum building. I was unable to attend.
No, just the end.
Okay, but that's what I mean, the front end. I mean, the 10 a.m. meeting was kind of difficult for many to attend, and I couldn't be there, but it's the entire front? South,
No, it's the side.
The south side is what I mean.
Facing the street.
Correct.
And it doesn't go all the way up. It goes up as far as where those, yeah, up above that. Let me just go ahead and give you some background on this, if you don't mind. This is something that TDC has been working with the cities for almost 3 years. This isn't brand new. This has been going on for quite a while. The background that I could find on this was that the city council has never made a motion to say, put it on this building. What I believe has happened, and in speaking with Terry Heston, who was the TDC liaison at that time, he believes it might have been a consensus from the sitting council in 2017, but he didn't actually remember. He didn't remember having a motion on it. We have found nothing in the previous minutes from 2017 on any agenda or on any minutes where it said that the city council approved this. On December 27th of 2017, Phil Attinger with the News Sun wrote an article where he said that all 3 municipalities had agreed on the site selections for where they were. Terry said that he recalled they were discussing the restroom at Donaldson Park, the museum, and the Brickell Building. That was right after Hurricane Irma, and the Brickell Building at that point was being discussed to be torn down. So that was no longer an option, and no one wanted it on the restroom wall at Donaldson Park. So the third option, which apparently by consensus the city council agreed to. I also spoke to Commissioner Don Elwell today about this to find out if he had a remembrance about that. He said that former city manager DeLeon and Terry Heston had attended many of the TDC meetings, and that had always been kind of the consensus, it would be on the museum wall. I can't say, I wasn't here, most of y'all weren't here at that time, but I can't say why the Historical Society was never brought into the discussions. They should have been. They should have been brought into the discussions at the very beginning. Even though it's the city's building, it's the city's tenant as well. So we should have been discussing this with them, and unfortunately, I don't think that happened.
No, it didn't happen.
I'm sorry?
I know it didn't happen.
Right.
But David, if I could remember correctly now, when we were doing, when individuals had to be liaisons for the different committees that they were on, they just gave an update
Right.
as to what was happening.
Mhm.
And I don't remember of anybody ever asking, do you?
I don't remember a vote or anything like that.
No.
I don't think it happened because we found no minutes of that.
There was just discussions, the only thing I ever
Yeah.
remember.
Right. Now, let me just correct a couple of things that came up tonight. There is absolutely no plan ever discussed on cutting down any of those trees.
No.
That has never been said. So I don't know where that came from. And,
We just
well,
Since you wouldn't be able to see it, we figured, what the heck, they'll probably next cut down our trees. you know?
not under my watch.
Mine either.
Okay.
I only- Under my watch, they're gonna put that mural on there if I stop it.
Well, shouldn't we allow the museum board to discuss this as well, since they were never consulted?
Let me finish what I'm saying here, because this is kind of an important part of the puzzle of the entire county plan on this. This is one RFP that the county has done for all 3 cities together. It has been cut out into pieces for what each one is costs, but it's one RFP that the county commission is getting ready to vote on in the first meeting in June, the way I understand it. Let me just make sure that y'all understand. Last week, when we had the artist rendering shown here, and we had several of you here that were making suggestions, the artist did agree through Casey Wall that most of those things he could do, except doing the trestle thing with the train on top. He said he could not do that. That wouldn't work. But the other things, like changing the college logo, putting a baseball in there or a baseball player in there, putting a World War II bomber flying over in the distance, that type of thing, all those he agreed could be incorporated into that. But let's get back to where we are right now. The entire process that's been going on with TDC and the county commission is about to be blessed, basically.
Ratified.
If we now, you as the city council says, no, we're not going to do that, that's basically going to throw out everything that the county is working on. So the only possible solution that I can see on this, so where that doesn't happen, is that we get the artist through Casey to agree to do the same exact mural, just on a different building. If y'all are saying that the Masonic Lodge has agreed to that, that's only going to be as good as the Masonic Lodge owns that building. If they lose all their membership next year and decide to sell the building and give it to charity, what happens to the 10-year plan that we have for ongoing maintenance for the mural itself? Because that's a 10-year guarantee that that thing would stay there and be maintained.
Right. I mean, it's only 10 years. In the scope of history, it's a flash.
It is, but I have had no discussions with Casey to see if the artist would agree to putting this on another building.
Yeah.
And I am told that this won't come before the county commission until June.
Yeah.
So I do have another meeting that we can have between now and then on the 30th of this month to where I can possibly get that. Barry, do you have other information other than that on what they're doing? If you don't mind me asking.
Do I have to come to the microphone?
Does he have to come to the microphone?
Yeah.
If you can
Okay.
move us out.
Barry Foster, News Director, Highlands Radio Group. I don't remember any vote by the council on this, and I have sat through many of these meetings without a cushion on my seat. So I don't remember there's been any formal action. When a newspaper writer writes the city, that covers a lot of territory. In a situation where you have a city manager who's responsible for basically speaking for the city, sometimes with or without council approval. So I don't know what the city means. The city does a lot of things. So, but I don't remember any particular vote on this, and I haven't followed this close enough to understand what's happened, but I would urge you to watch the Sebring City Council. I have a video if you'd like to see the Sebring City Council discussion about their postcard mural as well, although they ended up approving it.
Now, my question, Barry, was do you know if this is coming up on a county commission agenda before June? Okay. All right.
David, while you're talking, I know you all laugh at the bathroom. I've got some very beautiful murals that have been placed on public restrooms and really enhance the beauty of natural areas. And David was kind enough to make some copies. These are just samples that are out there, and I know that this mural is bright and colorful. I know that our park is probably the most heavily used park on the northern hemisphere of Highlands County, if you don't mind passing these down. And, you know, we've seen them on restrooms and areas. You know, you've got the senior activity center, you've got all the people using the park. Will it be as visible as something coming down Main Street? I think it'll be just as visible as the one at the museum. It is in our business core, whereas the museum doesn't have businesses next to it. People will have to get in their car and drive to a business. I'm just saying that we do have options. I don't think that we should mock any potential facade to put this on. I think that this is a choice that we should have, and the more choices, the better. If this was never ever done concretely, if the board was never, you know, maybe you can have a special meeting within the next couple of days and discuss it with your board, that way you can come to some consensus. Okay, so that would be long before it goes to the county commission, but you know, I'm sure that the county commission would understand that if this was never ratified conclusively by this council and it was just, you know, 3 years ago?
Actually, it was December 2017.
Yeah, 3 years ago, you know, proposals come and go to every organization that's around, and oftentimes it's like, okay, is this going to work? Is it not going to work? And then you don't hear anything for a couple of years. Well, then all of a sudden, bam, here it is. It's no fault of the TDC. I'm not going to blame Terry Heston or the city manager. This is just, you know, a whirlwind of everybody had some input on something except for the ones that it affects the most to their building. And right now, I mean, everybody all of a sudden is told this is what's going to happen, and there was never any ratification of any kind. I would just like for this council to consider, as well as the public to consider, the options that, you know what, you can make a bathroom look pretty. You know, we've talked about this also for the little itty bitty bathroom sitting on the parking lot that was recently constructed. It's an eyesore. Why not do something pretty with that? You know, Lake Placid's got something going and it's good. So I'm not against a mural. I'm with the museum. I think that they should have a choice on where it should go if it goes on their building. I think it may not be a federally, what's it called? historic building, but it sure is one of the 10 historic buildings that contribute to the historic area of Avon Park. It has a historic number. It does have a
Yeah,
designation.
It does.
So, although the building has been changed and altered and whatnot, is it still a historic building? Well, like I said, it contributes to the historic area, as does the gazebo, because it's been changed so many times. But if it had to do with the character of the building, I'm with the museum. I mean, you wouldn't want that mural on City Hall. Why? Because it changed the aesthetics of the building. So I want to go with the group that deals with it the most first, and then get their recommendation. If it's something that we have to find another location, there are still other areas within our city that people walk to and can come drive to. Maybe it'll be on some map that the county puts out that says, okay, these are where these murals are, go look at them. But I certainly do not want to discount the fact that you can actually make an asset that the city has at our Donaldson Park, which is the most heavily used park that I've seen in this area. We can make that look more beautiful, and there certainly has 3 big sides on it that we can fix up and make look beautiful. Plenty of parking, a huge attendance. If anyone's going to get out of their car and get their picture done, it's going to be there because it's open every day.
And aren't y'all planning on some things
Well,
at Donaldson
Donaldson
Park?
Park is open every day.
Aren't you bringing some new things
but-
coming into Donaldson Park?
I'm sure there will be, yeah.
Yes.
And that means more people down there to start with?
Yeah, but regardless of the people that show up, even if you had attendance of all day long at your place,
We don't.
there's just not the social, or better yet, the staffing infrastructure to be able to accommodate a full-time person in there. So, I'm just trying to make it look beautiful. We have the opportunity to do something like that. We can end up painting all of our restrooms, as far as I'm concerned, and make it look more attractive. If anything, they're the ones that need it the most.
I now that I think about it, I actually wouldn't object to being on the restroom on Main Street because
Thank
that
you.
is wide open. Everybody would easily see it, and it actually would make that building look something different besides a restroom.
You're talking about something that would have to be resized and rebid,
I don't,
because it's not near
I
as big
think
as that other wall.
I believe the bid was somewhere around $1,700, so we're not talking a lot.
No, for that painting,
Yeah,
it was around $7,000.
7,000.
Yeah.
You're right.
Can we have the money instead?
No.
Well,
Lake Placid actually asked that.
Yeah.
David, I'm pretty sure that this is a graphic design that has layers to it that can be condensed
Yeah.
into a specific dimension. This isn't a rendering that, everything has to be fit to scale. So, scaling it back to a different size, it's worth the question. All they can do is say no. And if they say no, then they say no. But if we get what we want, then why can't we ask?
Yeah, and you also don't want to affect the other cities that have already accepted it.
No, we certainly don't want to jeopardize their opportunity of getting it either.
So I would just suggest that the museum have a vote from their board. The city call the people who are handling this operation and ask what leeway we have to make changes. And then as the council, in the meantime, between now and the next meeting, you all think about possible buildings and things like that to change it to.
Okay.
Okay? So we haven't ruled anything out at this point. But I think their board should have an opportunity to vote on what they say they want. And we need to at least find out what leeway we have to make changes. I find it hard to believe that you can't nick something from a bid and still have it continue. Adding to, I understand, but just to take something out of an RFP, I don't see how that would be.
He may have done a twofer, buy 2, get 1 free or something, who
Yeah.
knows? Or a discount because there's 3, who knows?
Yeah.
But these postcards are pretty common. I've seen them up and down I-4, that same exact method of postcard with the same type of thing. I mean, they're in zoos. They're pretty common, so.
Yeah. I'm not married to a mural.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, a lot of murals don't look very good. Some do. I know that we have one on, is it Dr. 70's building? Yeah. His looks great. It's always
does.
looked great. I've always liked looking at it, but not all of them are that way, So.
Agreed.
And I think it's pretty. I think it's a pretty design. I love the color in it and everything. I just don't think that the museum's the right place for it. That's just me.
Tell me something. Now about forgot, you talked too long.
Me?
Wonder what, who picked this all out anyway? Who started this?
I have no idea.
This was the Tourist Development Council.
Same one that made Sebring all big and everything, and Avon Park little tiny thing in advertisements? Uh-huh.
I can't
We get
respond
the
to
short
that.
end of the stick with that council all the time, so yeah, here we go again. So, no,
Okay, all right, moving on.
I know that. I
And
don't
Je-
care
and
who
Jean, we
pays
can't
for it.
discount the fact that they are being kind. I mean, this project was based out of goodwill
Right.
from the TDC, and I think that we should respect that. So, you know, I know,
I think they should have.
and that's what, you guys can go discuss it.
They, you know, it was maybe talked about, dropped, and then never another word until just recently.
Okay. All right, anything else on the mural?
I have one other thing I wanted to say.
Okay, this is Jane Avery.
Jane Avery, Avon Park. We talked to her last week about, now I don't know how this ended up, but preparing the surface to be painted, and he said they were going to airbrush paint it. And that surface, I went over there right afterwards because I volunteer on Wednesdays, and the surface of that building is like, it's not even rough like that.
It's a very
great
rough
big
stucco
lumpy,
finish.
bumpy.
Very rough stucco,
That's why
I-
it's airbrushed.
right.
I just can't imagine how that's going to be a very clear, distinct thing. It seems like, you know, with the way it is, stuff would run and everything. It just seems like it's a
You
real
know,
bad
I
surface.
think, I think the artist can deal with dimension and probably will paint it to fit that particular surface.
Well, all right, because one of our concerns was
If
that,
it ends
that
up
to
there.
prepare the surface, that they would grind that down, and
No.
we didn't want.
No.
Well, that's what we were still discussing. We were still discussing that part. So that was just the other thing that we were very concerned about was, you know, not having to like smooth that side
I'm
of
sure
that
they're
building
professionals.
off.
If you grind stucco down, you end up with metal lath under it, and no, they can't do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else on the mural project? Barry?
I have just received some smoke signals that tell me that this was approved a long time ago by both the Tourist Development Council, Commission and the Board of County Commissioners. This has been already approved by both of those boards. And also, if you get your pencils up, I understand that the sheriff's budget is 27 million, and the ad valorem tax generates about 40 million. So if you'll back that out, it's going to be roughly 2/3 of the ad valorem taxes. Although the general fund budget's 68 million, there's, as you know, there's more than just taxes. So the ad valorem generates about 47 million. The sheriff's budget is just over 27 million. So that'll give you your percentage that you were looking for.
Okay.
Always glad to be of service.
Did they carve out the exempted properties from that millage?
We didn't get quite that far
Yeah,
down into
that's-
it.
that's the
If you want to
number.
get down into the weeds, feel free to call, Eric Zweier's office,
Yeah,
and
thank
he'll
you,
be glad to
Barry.
talk about that. But in this day of smartphones, I was able to get your information, at least something for you to work with.
Thank you,
Thank
Barry.
you, Barry. Anything else on the mural? Seeing none, we did have one thing. I attended the Avon Park Seventh-day Adventist Church 40th anniversary, and they presented the city with this beautiful plaque here. And this plaque will be hung up in the council chambers.
Yes.
So for everyone to take a look at some point. So that concludes our regularly scheduled agenda. Is there anything else for the good of the city?
Motion to adjourn?
Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Which has been done by Maria Sutherland. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Driving her home?
Understood your point there. I said I understood his point.
Oh, we all do.
I'll take it.